Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me for today's edition of Arkansas Alive. All this week, I'm teaching on a subject that sounds very grim, but it's necessary that we address this and deal with it from a positive aspect, using the Bible as our text. We're talking this week about the death of a nation. So stay tuned. Arkansas Alive starts right now. I love America. You love America. We all love America. But everybody doesn't love America. Satan is the number one enemy of America, of any nation, of any people. And he works behind the scenes. We know that from Ephesians 6. Principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, wicked spirits in high places. He does his very best. And you remember, he was the original ruler of the original creation. You can read that in Ezekiel and Isaiah 14, Ezekiel 28. He was in the garden of God before Adam was there. When God created Adam in his image and likeness and put him in the garden to keep it, to dress it, to keep it, Satan was infuriated. He wanted to be God. He wanted that position. And it tells us in Thessalonians chapter 2 that he will, in the tribulation period through the Antichrist, that he will eventually sit in the seat of God. He will make himself God. In the meantime, he's been doing everything he could the last 6,000 years to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus warned us of it in Matthew 24 and showed us that all the things that were coming upon the earth and everything that would be faced. Now remember, he's ministering to his Jewish disciples. There is a difference between Israel and the church. And I hear it not a whole lot, but every once in a while it'll pop up and somebody will say that the church is spiritual Israel. It is not. And they'll believe in the replacement theology, which means the church has replaced Israel. It has not. Israel is its own entity and has its own future. The church is its own entity and has its own future. But when Satan attempts to destroy what God has created and what our founding fathers meant for America. Now remember, and I get flack on this occasionally, but remember, there's nowhere in the Bible that it talks about America. People have tried to fit America in the last days. Where will America be during the tribulation period? There's no evidence that America even exists. After the rapture of the church, America will probably cease to exist as we know it now, because we will lose millions of people, we will lose our tax base, we will lose our lawfulness, we'll go into lawlessness, and everything that America stands for will be gone. America will be gone. Millions upon millions upon millions of people will disappear. They will not exist anymore. And there have been those that have tried to factor in America into Ezekiel 38, 39, where Russia invades Israel from the north. And they've tried to say that, because of the language, when it talks about the merchants of Tarshish and the young lines thereof, that's America. That's conjecture. That's speculation. You can't prove that by Scripture. If you study the history and look up the merchants of Tarshish, these were merchants that traveled all over the world and did business with a worldwide community, even back in thousands of years ago. The merchants of Tarshish were basically from Spain. And, Christopher Columbus was sent forth by the king and queen of Spain to discover a new land, to increase their trade. And if you read the biography about the founding of America, you will see comments from Christopher Columbus's diary. And he said, I sailed towards this new land not by mathematical computation, map, chart, or compass, but I'm led by the Spirit of the living God. When you read the founding fathers, from George Washington all the way up, you will hear that they are establishing this new land for God, and they are resting upon His Word for their covenant, for their basis for the Constitution. When Benjamin Franklin walked out of Constitution Hall, a lady asked him, Dr. Franklin, what have you given us? Have you given us a democracy? Have you given us a monarchy? Or have you given us a republic? And Dr. Franklin said, Madam, you have a republic if you can keep it. And I did a lesson on that. I think it aired last week. It didn't mean if you could keep it politically. He meant that if you would get involved, be informed, and be involved. And I contrasted it between that and what God told Adam when He created the garden east of Eden, and He told him to till it and to keep it. Same thing. He was telling him to take ownership of it. And Americans did that for 200 years. We're going towards 250 now. But America has been severely injured and severely damaged and divided. And we have a divisiveness in our country, even greater than the Civil War. It used to be about slavery. It's not about slavery anymore. I think it's about abortion. I think abortion is the conscience of a nation. I think abortion is the death of a nation. Every major nation and people's group that has systematically killed their children has gone into decline. Many of them are no longer viable nations anymore. And we read yesterday in Revelation, when Jesus comes back at the end, he smites the nations. He blesses the nations that regarded God's commandments, and He curses the nations that disregarded Him. Well, America has blatantly disregarded. We've killed over 63 million children in the womb. I believe that abortion is the number one issue in the coming presidential election. More so than immigration, inflation, economy, wars going on in Ukraine and Israel, more than anything, education, anything that you want to lay on the table, abortion is at the top. I mean, this has divided our country more than anything. The Supreme Court even reversed itself and says that we erred when we gave people the constitutional right to kill their babies. They didn't say it that way, of course, because nobody wants to be responsible for murder and killing of a child. And we unconsciously made it a rule of law that it is a constitutional right to have an abortion. It is not a constitutional right. Never has recovered from that, but the Supreme Court reversed that decision and said it is no longer a constitutional right for you to have an abortion. Now, nobody really wants to look at the life of the child. There are two organizations that I know of in Central Arkansas that we've supported and that I know others have supported and you can support, that are doing battle on the front lines for the life of the children every day in our state legislature, out in the highways and the byways. And that Arkansas Right for Life, headed up by Rose Mims, and Family Council, headed up by Jerry Cox. And if you're wanting to get into protecting our nation from decline and destruction and death, support those two organizations. They're out there doing what many will not or cannot do. So support them. Family Council, Arkansas Right to Life. Because we have to get involved. When God told Adam to dress and keep the garden that he had planted, and it represented everything good and beautiful, creative, he told him to get involved. Be informed and be involved. When Ben Franklin told the woman in Philadelphia, Madam, you have a republic if you can keep it, he wasn't talking about order of government. He wasn't talking about political things. He was talking about getting informed and being involved in your government, running for school board, running for elected office, volunteering your time. Do something to perpetuate what our founding fathers called a Christian order. With all that said, there is still no evidence in the Scriptures that America is named. There is no evidence that America existed at the end of the tribulation period. All the people that are raptured out around the world and out of America, America will, like one prophecy teacher put it, he said it'll either be the rapture or an electromagnetic explosion, or it will be a war that will destroy the people of America. So any of those things could see America's demise. I know there are those that teach that we have a covenant with God. We do, because of the founding fathers. They made a covenant with God, but there's no evidence that God cut covenant with America. There's evidence that American founding fathers cut covenant with God, but there's no evidence that God cut covenant with America. God cut covenant with Israel. Go with me over to, go with me, let me look at my notes here. Go over to Psalm 33. You may have seen this, you may have heard this. We've got several scriptures that we use when we talk about government and we talk about Christianity. But let's look at Psalm 33. And we're going to see a scripture that we've heard many, many times, but I dare say very few people really know the total meaning of it and to whom it's directed. Psalm 33. Let's look at verse 12. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. What nation is he referring to? Not America. He's referring to Israel. It tells us. Blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord, and the people whom he hath chosen for his own inheritance. That can only be Israel. Israel was chosen by God. God cut a covenant with Israel. And so you put everything in a proper perspective. Let's go over to 2 Chronicles and look at chapter 7. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, and let's look at verse 14. We've heard this and we've used this at every prayer rally. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, and then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. Again, that was referring to Israel. That's God's covenant with Solomon. That is a covenant promise, but it's designated to the nation of Israel. So while America is precious to Americans, we have to face the facts and wake up and realize that America is declining or in decline. And the single issue that will kill this nation and destroy this nation is abortion. And I know many of you have just let it go on by. You've stuck your head in the sand. You don't deal with it anymore. You don't think about it. You don't pray about it. But abortion, I think, is the single issue that's going to decide which party and which man steps in the president's office. Now, and keep this in mind too, and I'm going out on a limb here and may step in a hole, but I, like you, I have a covenant responsibility to vote And a lot of people are thinking about not voting now for various reasons. And I agree. We don't have much of a choice if you look at the candidates and the character. And I get tickled at people. In fact, at the presidential debate, Trump was, how would I say, reprimanded for how many times he told a lie. 20-something times he lied. Both of them lied. And I go back to remembering all the presidents that we've had. And it's a disgrace, but our leaders have lied to us. The parties have lied to us. The press has lied to us, because if you don't know what's going on, you don't keep up with the scriptures, and you don't check the facts. And then President Biden made the statement in one interview that I saw that he blasted Trump because he slept with a porn star or a prostitute or whatever. And he said, at least, we haven't lied. We haven't done that. We haven't lied about these things. And then he turned around and said that there was no military personnel killed in action under his watch. Well, that's not true. That's a lie. What about all the people that died in Afghanistan? That was under his watch. And if you go all the way back to all the presidents, and this is not fault finding, it's simply bringing to light things that we have believed that are not true for our own convenience or self-preservation. Bill Clinton lied when he said that he did not have sex with that woman. That was a lie. It was proven to be a lie, and he was impeached for it. Barack Obama lied when he said America is no longer a Christian nation. That was a lie. That's not true. America is a Christian nation, founded on Christian principles. And then George Bush Sr. lied when he said, read my lips, no new taxes. Obama said, if you want to keep your doctor, you can keep. All these things have been lies that have been perpetrated on the American people. Let me read you this. This has to do with the fact that planet Earth is a world fallen in raging rebellion. And we addressed that in Romans chapter 8 yesterday. America is in a free fall because of abortion. That's the number one cause. It's opened the door, and I hadn't gotten to reading Reagan's book, Abortion, the Conscience of a Nation, which will, I think, bring to light some things. You have to know, because we're dealing with the reality of our country, and you can either deny it and get into a state of denial. I don't, and I'm going to go ahead and say this for whatever it may do or offend somebody or whatever. I don't really have any inclination from God or any leadership from God based on the character of the presidential candidates. I don't have any desire to vote for either one of them. So what do? For your sake, I contacted the Secretary of State's office a few weeks ago. Arkansas no longer has write-in vote privilege. Through Act 305, I think, last year, write-in voting was eliminated. So you can't write in a candidate. I mean, I guess you could, but it won't be counted. It's worthless. So what do? When you can no longer abide and you no longer can believe anybody. I got this note the other day reminding us that Barack Obama stated in 2008 campaign, we're just a few days from fundamentally transforming America. He wanted to fundamentally change America, which he did. Open the door to homosexual marriages, transgenderism, all of the things of the homosexual community. Some 8 years later, after he left the presidency, he said he would just rather run the country in his sweats from his basement and let somebody else be the front person as president. Now that was his statement. Well, I think he pretty much did that. So we don't know who to believe. We don't know who's running the country. So what do we do, Pastor Caldwell? How do we vote? I can't vote for this one and I can't vote for that one, and they're probably both lying, so what do I do? Well, the next thing you have to do is go read the party platform that they represent. And if you do that, which I have, and I've taught on it, the Democrat platform will tell you exactly what that party believes and how they're going to govern. The Republican platform, a Republican Party platform, tells you exactly what they believe and how they're going to govern. Now, if God tells you to vote for somebody, fine, then obey God. But if you don't hear from God, the Democrat platform will tell you how that party believes and how they govern. And in the beginning of the the Democrat Party platform, it says that America is an experiment, an idea. It also outlines that they are pro-abortion, pro-homosexual, against Israel, against the family. It tells you all of the things that they are against and all the things they are for. The Republican Party will tell you just the opposite, that they are pro-life, they are pro-Israel, they are pro-family. So you get a total different picture as to what the parties believe. And if you can't, come to a conclusion on the candidate himself, then the next best thing is to go to the party and find out what the party believes, because that's how they're going to govern, and that's their agenda, and that's what they're going to do. But above all things, you need to go vote, because voting is a privilege, and it should be exercised by everybody, because people have died defending our Constitution and our right to be able to cast a vote, because a lot of countries don't do that. Now, I mentioned Ephesians 6. I mentioned that we have unseen forces that are operating behind the scenes, and there are other organizations that are operating behind the scenes. They're emissaries of Satan. The Bible says so in Ephesians 6. It says we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against powers, principalities, rulers of darkness of this world, and wicked spirits. All the things that we've seen in our culture, not only in Arkansas, but around the country. Everything that you see that steals, kills, and destroys is not God. Everything that steals, kills, and destroys is of the devil. There are principalities, powers, rulers of darkness, and wicked spirits. That's not hate speech. We're not talking about flesh and blood. We're talking about demonic forces. Now, there are those that are looking further down the road. Unfortunately, too few Christians do that. They react to something. But further down the road, there are organized groups. The World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, George Soros, I really don't understand it, two strange bed partners. Klaus Schwab was a student of Hitler, communism, Nazism. George Soros is a Hungarian Jew. How they got together, God only knows. That's a partner organization, World Economic Forum. Now, here's what they believe. They believe in globalism. So every time you hear one world government or globalism, you know that you're talking about the World Economic Forum. They are forcing humanity into a world that will be ruled by AI, and you've heard of AI, artificial intelligence, and other dehumanizing technologies. They have intimated that all under their own coming rule, they intend to rule the world. Here's their agenda, their motto. People will own nothing and will be happy about it. You know, let's just take, for example, our capitalistic system. You hear the ads all the time about a mattress sale, a car sale. Don't bother me with the facts. Advertisement, television, magazines, paper, circulars. Don't bother me with the facts. Just tell me how much down and how much a month. I'm going to buy a house. Don't tell me about the interest that I'm going to have to pay. Just tell me how much down and how much it costs me a month. That's all I want to know. And we don't want to see what's in the fine print. We don't want to know about what's down the road. The mantra goes on, for the good of the planet. Now listen to this. You may not have heard this. There are too many eaters. Eaters, that's me and you. There are too many people that want to eat. And too many abusing the earth through the carbon footprint damage. In other words, we don't want fossil fuels anymore. We want to go green. We want electric cars. We want things that don't burn. Ultimately, they want the population to be brought below 2 billion worldwide. We're 8 billion now. They want to get rid of those people. They want the population to be between 500 million and 2 billion. 500 million, 2 billion. So it'll be easier to manage. So you got to get rid of those people somehow. You either abort them or you start another war. Now we're talking about abortion, the death of a nation. Join me tomorrow and we'll finally get to Ronald Reagan's book, Abortion, the Conscience of a Nation. It's very important that we hear and know these things. So join me tomorrow. Remember, Jesus is Lord of Arkansas and where you're watching too.
Send your questions, comments, and testimonies to Happy Caldwell at Post Office Box 26207, Little Rock, Arkansas 72221, or email happycaldwell@vtntv.com. Remember to follow VTN on Facebook at VTN Your Arkansas Christian Connection, and follow Happy Caldwell on X at Happy_Caldwell. VTN is on Roku. Search VTN in the channel store and add us to your lineup. Today's episode is available to watch on demand at VTNTV.com and click Watch. You can also watch VTN via live stream at VTNTV.com.